That's right. I said the mics are hot.
Oilers Live Podcast. Oilers Live Podcast. Oilers Live Podcast. Oilers Live Podcast.
Now, get ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Michael here from Oilers Live with the Heavy Hockey Roundtable brought to you by Kevin Weeks. How's everybody doing tonight?
Like to report,
Breaking news.
there's a trade.
Breaking news. All right. Fun. That's about as funny as we get here at the Heavy Hockey Network.
When you're writing.
When we're, yeah, who are the writers? We need better comedy writers here. That was awesome. That was, by the way, that was all Dursa. Dursa wanted to do that. If you didn't like the joke, if you liked it, then I'll take credit. We are back for a Tuesday night Oilers Live, part of the Heavy Hockey Network. We're less than, can you guys believe it? We're less than 2 months until training camp opens up. Now, I don't know for sure. I don't think they've announced yet when the Oilers training camp opens up, but that was Dallas Stars, I believe, said September 21st. So I'm going to go, everybody opens up about the same time, so we'll suggest that'll be good opening day for Oilers training camp. Development camp's already underway. We've got guys from all over today. I'm coming to you live from Halifax. Mr. Dursa is in the grandest of prairies, as they like to say. Dash, man, he's in the park. Dash,
That's what they say.
Dash in the park. Kirk, he's sitting under a big giant Pasenka somewhere in Alberta. And Mr. Jeff Vade, he's the only guy coming to us live from Edmonton. And yet, who do you cheer for?
The sad Buffalo Sabres.
The sad Buffalo. It's not even just the Buffalo Sabres. It's this, and he's the guy that is in Edmonton for us. But no,
He's the network's outsider, but he's the only guy in Edmonton. There's some irony there.
there is some irony there. Oh,
And Josh, brought to you by the Twilight Zone, who somewhere his cat is batting a light bulb right
I
now.
totally forgot. Sorry, Josh. You are. I don't even. That's why I don't even know where. Normally, you're actually not far from me, but now you are where? Right now, where are you situated?
I'm in Jay, Vermont,
Vermont.
at the Jay Peak Resort, and I have a ceiling fan going above my head, and I just realized what that is doing to my videos. So
Yeah,
I
no,
apologize.
we're all like, it's like stop motion photography over here. It's great. We've got Shane Govro listening in from on YouTube. He's a lifelong Oilers fan, trapped in Calgary. I've been there, Shane. I've been there. It's but having said that, you know, I wouldn't say it's 50-50, but I knew a shitload of Oilers fans in Calgary, like a ton. Not quite 50-50, but there are some intelligent folks over there in Calgary, and they're cheering for the Oilers. But anyway, I'm not making any friends with those Flames fans. Normally, they love me because I talk so highly of the team and the city and the people, but
That's what you're known for.
that is, in fact, what I'm known for. All right, guys. It's the off season, so there's not always a lot going on. There was some Oilers news today, and since last Tuesday, there was also a big NHL trade with our friends, if you will, south of Edmonton in Calgary. Let's start with today's news. Jesse Puljujarvi. I'm going to go around the horn here, and this is what I want to know. Okay, Jesse Puljujarvi signs 1 year, $3 million. I want your opinion in like less than 100 words, Dursa.
Bob's not here. We're okay.
I've got the mute like on standby when you're up. The mute is on standby, sir. I want your opinion on the contract, the term. Obviously, I mean those, 1 year, $3 million. What you think if he's worth it? And then, do you think he's an Oiler at the start of the season? Do you think he's an Oiler at the end of the season? Okay. And what else it means? Does how do you think this affects the Yamo McLeod thing? Just kind of give me everything you can. You got about 10 seconds to tell me when your turn is up, and then I'm gonna hit the buzzer. You get more than 10 seconds. You guys don't give a shit. You don't listen to me anyway. All right.
I certainly won't.
Yeah. Because I haven't heard the guy speak in what seems like ages. And there's a goalie behind him that's ready to make like a kick-ass save right now. I am going to go out to Mr. Stop Animation himself, Tough Call Pod, Josh. Give us what you got, and why should we suspend Puljujarvi for 10 games? No, what do you think of this? What do you think of this?
First of all, I missed a real opportunity to say I was coming from Narnia for Dash, and that's why I'm like this.
Narnia's for 60. We brought Jeff in to try and decrease that, to be honest. So we just really pumped the stats. Sorry.
That's fair. That's fair. This signing, I think it's great, because if this year Puljujarvi does what you want him to do, he's certainly worth the $3 million. And if he doesn't, then you've only spent 1 year on him, and you could move on from there. The term in this case, Holland's been using term to his benefit for longer terms to sign guys at cheaper deals. So why not use the term here? $3 million, I think, is a pretty midline price for if Puljujarvi's a failure. Then if $3 million is a little steep, but not really overly steep based on his expectations. And if he does meet his expectations, then $3 million is actually a pretty good bargain for someone that is supposed to be playing to his capabilities. So if he's a success this year, then you've got him for 1 year at $3 million. That's fantastic. And like I said, if he's a failure, well, you've only got him for 1 year at $3 million. So I think it's a win-win either way. And I believe that Puljujarvi will come through, and I think he will remain an Oiler for a long time.
Wow. Actually, I didn't expect you to say any of that. I know.
Wow.
No. You know what? That's great. I think you're right in terms of year and term. That is probably right where it should be. Curious though, just as a follow up to that, would he have been worth $3 million last year? Like, do you think his game was worth $3 million last year?
I think at where the Oilers were at the time, I would say yes. But where we want the Oilers to be for $3 million, you're going to need to get more out of players than what he did last year. But I think where they were at the point last year with the roster they had and where they were trying to get to, I think the type of play he had, the compete level, the defensive responsibilities, the things that he did to generate chances for other players, I think that was worth $3 million based on the roster we had last year. Is that going to be, if he's our $3 million guy playing at the level he did last year going forward, would that be a model for success for the ultimate prize, probably not. But for last year, I think he was probably worth that.
Okay. Good, and good. All right. You're going to, now that you've had your say, do it respectfully, but you can jump in and talk. And for the rest, for those of you that haven't had your say, just zip it until everybody finishes. But I think once you've had your say, you should be able to respectfully jump in, just because there might be stuff you want to add to what you've said. And my guess is by the time we get to Dash, he's going to revert back to something you said and completely misconstrue it anyway. And so
Can I go next then?
I want to give you the chance to be able to defend it. We're going around the horn here. Jeff, you're up. You're up, my friend.
All right. First, I think it's a great deal for him. Money-wise, I was expecting him to be around the $3 million range, so that's not off. And the term, I thought he was going to get 2 years. The 1 year is fine too, because it's almost just like a show me deal. Let's see what you got right there at the 1 year. And personally, I'm still a little on the fence if he's going to be an Oiler come opening day, though. You know, most teams out there are already set though too. So if you look around, a lot of them are set with their depth. A lot of them are set with their salary cap. So options are getting limited with who they can really work with too, right? So I'm a little on the fence if he's going to be an Oiler, and his future I feel like is kind of bleak with the team. You know, as a whole, after the LTIR, they still about have like 2.65 million left. So Yamamoto and McLeod, they're going to be sticking around. I feel like they got a future with this team. So something's got to happen to fit them under the cap still, whether it's Fogle getting traded or Puljujarvi still, or what's going to happen. I don't know, but I'm still a little on the fence if Puljujarvi is going to be with the team. But overall, I think it's a great contract. I'm a huge fan of his, and I like what he brings to the table.
Yeah, good answers. I mean, you're not non-committal. You're kind of non-committal on where he's at, but we'll accept that. You're allowed not to have an opinion here. Just kidding, Jeff.
I know. I just want to keep it short for now. I didn't want to round it.
That's right. Dash,
How dare he respect your rules?
Dash is dying here. He's like, pick me. I want to go after this, but we're going to Mr. Dursa, living the pissy life over there in the grandest of prairies. What you got there, Mr. Dursa? By the way, it's been a long time. Welcome back to Oilers Live. Good to see you. Yeah. New hat?
Same old.
Yeah. I know. All right. What do you got?
I feel like we saved about $500,000 by signing him today versus what I think he was going to get in arbitration. So in that respect, I think that's a little bit of a win for Ken Holland. And I think like Jeff said, I think it is a bit of a show me deal. And I do think he's going to be an Oiler come opening night. But I'm not convinced he's still going to remain an Oiler come trade deadline day. But I think that depends on him and what he does this year. But I think he is here to start the year. That's all I got.
Oh, Jesus, dude. This is an hour-long show. You got to say more than that.
Ash was saying that for all of us.
Wow. That's got to be the shortest. Man, a lot of respect for you right now. A ton of respect.
I've taken some time to grow, Michael.
All right. All good. All right. Next up, around the horn, Kirk. Just kidding. Dash, you get your chance here, buddy. You get your chance. Okay. The timer's running.
Is this a good time to bring up a concern I have for the show tonight?
Yeah, no, there's no.
As the self-proclaimed associate host, I was not told that any of these yahoos would be on this call. Okay. And I don't know. I guess my question is, do I still get 75% of the time, or do I have to share it like 1/6 with these mouth breathers? I don't agree with anything any of you said. And that's not even me just trying to be the heel of this show. Like, I honestly, 3 is too high. He wasn't worth that last year. He had 30 some points and 6 or 18 goals or whatever it was, and was basically a third liner. You're not a $3 million third liner. Fancy stats don't mean anything in arbitration. Absolutely nothing. So you're not going to get that type of money there in my opinion, I think 3 million was probably exactly what he was going to get in arbitration. So I don't think Holland saved any money. He just saved himself a little bit of time. I disagree with I agree with everything Josh said except for none of it. He's he's gone. I think we've seen JP play his last game as an Oiler. I'm fairly confident in that. I think he almost has to be a byproduct of what we need to do to get under the cap. So how we're going to keep Fogle and JP, or even both of them, based on what we still have to do cap wise, I think is priorities. It's interesting. I heard today that when the NHL set the arbitration schedule, they purposely put Jesse Puljujarvi in the first slot, like they wanted him to set the mark. And so I found that a little interesting, and I don't know where they would want that mark set. We've all been talking 2.5 million. None of us have ever really been comfortably saying 3 million. We've all thought it was going to be there. So I think they paid him about 500,000 too much. That said, is it going to be worth it? Depends which Jesse Yesa shows up. Is it going to be the first 28 games where he had 25 points, or is it going to be the guy we had after? He's a steal at 3 million if he's a 0.8 point per game player. But if he's the same kid he's been for the last 5 years, which is inconsistent with wonky hips, then I'm not sure. I think he's gonna be seeing the road out.
So Kasperi Kapanen got 3.2, right? And he's
how many points did he have?
32. So 4 points less, 6-7 goals less, right?
This sets Yamo at 3.5 then. Because he had 40 points and 20 goals.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but in arbitration, for sure, Puljujarvi's getting at least 3.5. And we all know how arbitration works. Could end up being 4, right? if he makes those 6 points sound like they're worth an extra mil, right? You never know. But anyway,
I think you just described Yamamoto's arbitration hearing.
Yeah, well, and we'll see if he gets
it. Agreed.
Yeah. All right, Kirk, we saved the best for last. That's why you're going before me.
Great.
So you see what I did there? I got you. You were all excited. You're like, oh, Michael really loves me. And then, boom, nothing.
Takes the chair right out. Yep.
Yeah, kicks the chair out from underneath you.
Coming from Kirk, the guy who said that he's where the talent lies, then he's the pillar of the network.
Legs in the network.
Yeah. I know. I remember. I remember exactly.
Just saying.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, go ahead, Kirk.
I'm just curious how long Dash
no
talked
pressure
for before he realized he was on mute there. But anyway, all right. Kirk, what do you got there, buddy?
My opinion on Jesse is looking back this last season, it's a tale of 2 seasons. His performance before he got hurt and got COVID, and then after.
You know what? I'm going to say that's a fair point that nobody brought up.
I must have been on mute then when I said the 25 points in the first 28 games.
Yeah.
I was going to get to that. Was he worth 3 million? Absolutely. When he was red hot, when he was on that heater, and after the second half, or not even the second half, I think it was the last 50 games or something like that, or whatever it was, the other season there, he was only playing for. He was limited in his service, and he definitely wasn't worth the money then. But when you get hurt, and you're trying to get back to that normal speed, you're getting up to speed, it tends to take a while, and he doesn't have the greatest confidence in the world, and I just see it as as what Durst said, and which Puljujarvi is going to, or pardon me, what Dash said there, which Puljujarvi is going to show up. That's what I want to know, because it just, at this point, I don't have too much faith. and in the 1 year, I don't know, like the 1 year contract, show me what you got type of deal. It just, I got that feeling of a sign and trade. Maybe everybody's got their own theories there on social media, what's going to happen. But I hope the kid finds his finish, just like what I said there during the playoffs. I hope he finds his finish. And once you get your,
Good pun.
pardon the pun, but just to find his confidence and that'll boost his confidence. Once you start putting the puck in the net, then it'll accelerate and boost his value. Whether he sticks around for the entire season, I don't know. But you gotta. Yeah, I don't know, man. At this point, I'm just like everybody else, just wait and see what happens.
Cap casualty.
See, that's why I didn't start with Dash.
I feel you. That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, all good points. Everybody's got good points. My personal opinion on it is Puljujarvi's days are numbered. Whether it's sign and trade or trade sometime before the deadline, he's not making it into the playoffs with the Oilers. And I don't think he's making it past this season. And I think there's more to it, guys. I just do. I mean, I've talked about it at length on Oilers Live. I think that whether the fancy stats are there or not. I mean, most of us that are hockey fans and follow the stats to some level, right? Like the outside of your regular boxcars, would all agree that Puljujarvi makes his lines better. He does, a lot of things good, and but I mean, just about everybody here has played hockey, and I still think when you put the puck on a guy's stick and he misses the net, you're not thinking about the guy's fancy stats. You're thinking about, I put the puck on his stick and he missed the net. And I just feel like that happened to Connor McDavid too many times near the end of the season. Granted, I know it was post-injury, post-COVID, post-whatever, but it gets in your head, right? I mean, it's, to me, we've all seen at various times in Puljujarvi's career as an Edmonton Oiler, Connor McDavid or somebody look at him with that face like, what the fuck, man? Put the puck in the net, right? And there's this saying, perception is reality, right? And that's where fancy stats go out the door. And so I just think that
recency bias.
Yeah, and I think like we can all agree. This is not me saying Puljujarvi is not a good hockey player, because I think he's a hell of a hockey player. I think he does a lot of things well that, like I said, maybe you don't see them on the boxcars and but I do think that he's got a challenge on this team, and he needs to have a consistent season, but it's got to be someplace else. And I hope all the best to him. I hope, Jeff on Jeff's on YouTube while he's supposed to be talking with us here, and he says Sabres should grab Puljujarvi.
You don't think the rest of us are bored with what you're saying?
Yeah. But like I want Puljujarvi to go somewhere. I mean, we all know we've all seen the guy. The guy's got a smile that's like ear to ear. We love him. He's a hell of a character. He's when he's on, and he's fun to watch. Right? He's got a different skating style, which is unique in its own way, and he's got this way about him that he plays. I love it. I love watching it. But he's going to have to be successful someplace else, and I think that's what 1 year and $3 million does for you. It opens it up, as everybody's been talking, to a potential trade. We're not going to get back what Puljujarvi is. Like, we gotta, as Oilers fans, you can't,
100.
Ken Holland is in a tough spot. He's not going to get back. This is not going to be the Tkachuk trade, right? Where I think Trey Living did something I didn't think was going to be possible, and he showed and I hate to bring up his name, but he showed Chiarelli that even when put under under fire, you can still make a good trade. This is different with Puljujarvi because, nobody knows exactly what you're going to get, right? Everybody thinks you're going to get something really good, but we haven't seen it yet. And so
Don't you think, though, that that's why nothing has happened yet, is because they don't really want to short sell that asset and get their heads handed to them?
Yeah, I think so. I just don't think, though, I don't think they're going to miss. Like, I just don't think we're going to get the value of what Puljujarvi is going to bring to another team, right? Like, Puljujarvi, if he plays to his full potential, is, to Josh's point, is completely $3 million's a deal, right? I mean, does anybody disagree on that? If Puljujarvi is playing to his full potential,
Yeah, that's a good deal.
Yeah,
If we have
so
a
it's a
60-point player on our hands, I think that's a hell of a deal.
Exactly, but we're
a
not
big
going to
if.
get that, right?
But it's not like he tried to take a gamble. All he did is set the market price. He set the suitor's expectations. Now whoever's getting him knows what they have to pay him.
Yeah. Kelly's on YouTube. Kelly Beer League Heroes says the
Hey, Kelly.
Sedins weren't 50-plus point players until they were 25, 26 years old. I should have read the whole thing first, Kelly. Probably because a good thing they didn't play in Edmonton. And he's right? Like, Kelly, good point. I mean, the point, is it's a tough market, right? To be a guy like Puljujarvi coming in. I look at the end of the
Not
day,
even fair, bro. They're Swedish.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, it is and it isn't. He's got a lot of people that do like track fancy stats, and he does have a legion of people that stand behind him.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think anybody. I don't know. Is there anybody on here that doesn't think Puljujarvi will be a good player in the NHL? And,
Good job on muting Dash, Mike.
Yeah.
Anybody get off? Does anybody have an opinion? Anybody?
Yeah. I mean, is there anybody that thinks Puljujarvi is going to just be shit for the rest of his time in the NHL?
I think he plays the game too well defensively to be a shitty player.
He'll be a good third line player.
Okay, so that and that might be it.
Accept that, and he'll be a great NHL player for somebody. Do what Cogliano did. And shift your mental gears where you got to be.
I hate to say, I was just about to say Cogliano's name.
Yep.
Scratch that from the record.
Fools
Dash and I.
If you're going to call this a show me deal, then you got to give him a chance to show.
Yeah,
you got to give him a chance to show. And if he's
doing
doing that well,
a show me deal is nothing but a PR stunt. He gone. There's no way.
That's what you say it is, sure, and then it's not a show me deal.
How do we keep him under the cap though, you guys? Like, let's just talk the facts.
Bye Warren Fogle.
That's still not enough.
Yeah, it is.
It is. What are you going to get? I think Michael's right, because what are you going to get if you trade him? If he's doing really well and you trade him at the deadline, what are you getting back? Not much. If you want to stay under the cap, you're not getting a comparable even a little bit. So you have him at 1 year, 3. I don't know. I don't like the cap situation. I really don't. But if you're getting a player of that caliber that, in my opinion, this year will have a solid year and perform at that level, then what are you even doing with your cap if you can have a player like that for $3 million? Why you trading it away to try and fill your roster with people who are worth less?
Josh, is he playing third line though? Like, is that where he slots in right now? I mean, we don't know. I mean, training camp weeds out a lot of stuff, but
for sure he does.
But I mean, I think most of us would like that to be the case, or think that should be the case. But
I don't see that as a problem.
No,
I mean, you had ahead of Yamo or Kane or Hyman.
In Pittsburgh, you had Phil Kessel as a third liner. We talked about him.
Except Kane and Hyman are best suited on the left side.
Yeah.
And having someone like that as a third line, you're not playing against the other team's top competition all the time. It helps you. If you're deep enough to have someone like Puljujarvi on the third line, and he performs at even 75% of his potential just because he's on the third line and not getting the minutes to meet his full potential, you're still getting a steal at $3 million for that guy.
The problem with what you said there, Durs, is that that means where you're going to play Nuge. That means you have to have Nuge at 3C.
Not McLeod.
Well, if he's saying that Hyman and Kane are both suited better on the left side, and you're going to put those on the first two line left wing, then Nuge has to play third line center. So
Nuge has never played on the right side.
Hyman and Kane are going to cycle through the right side. Yamo will not leave those top two guys' lines because they don't want him to. And JP is going to be on the third line. If there's an injury or there's a time where he's going hot, Woody might pump him in the third period. That's the only top 6 minutes he's going to get.
If I'm coaching, I start him on the third line and prove to me he'd belong higher up in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be.
He doesn't have the hockey IQ to be in higher in the lineup. It's the same Cassian thing.
No,
why is it a bad thing?
I disagree with the hockey IQ.
Well, it's not the thing. Here's the thing, Josh, and the only reason I bring it up, right? And I don't know the reference for it, but I've heard it enough times to think it's true. But I heard Lato had said that he wants Puljujarvi up in the top 6. I don't know anybody actually can point me to where that actually comes from. That's why I ask, right? If he's, is this a given now that if he does start the season in an Oilers uniform, does he play third line? And I think, given history, he's got to play the third line. I agree, Josh. I think third line, in fact, $3 million, if you go up and down most lineups in the NHL, $3 million is a third line player, right? A lot of guys making Kapanen. We talked about him. He's a third line player in Pittsburgh, right? At $3 million. That's what teams are playing, right? And the only reason I bring it up is just was said at some point, and I don't know where it came from, but I heard it enough times that he wanted to play top 6.
Just to be kind of a heel here for a second, and this is a huge what if, hopping on the speculation train as always. What if Holloway comes into training camp and pushes him out of that third spot because Holloway can play all three positions there on the forward? What if? And that's a huge what if. But what if he pushes him right to the edge and says, "Hey, I'm going to take your spot." If they're, and he's a low cap hit there as well, but that's beside the point. Like, you're looking at performance, period.
That's an
what do you
excellent
guys
problem.
think about that?
Excellent problem to have.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. Don't you want that problem? Like, we've been crying for that problem for years. Yeah. We've been crying for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. It's true. It's, and the only thing and the only challenge I have even thinking about that is the only reason we feel Holloway is ready is because they've been touting him for so long as ready. We saw him play, what, six minutes? Did he even make 6 minutes? I don't think he made a full 6 minutes, but that's the only NHL time we've seen him play. We have no idea, and in the 6 minutes he played, he was, I'm not even sure he touched the puck, but yeah.
I guess I look at it like this too. Woodcroft is the best thing that ever happened to guys like Puljujarvi. He's not afraid to take a guy like McLeod and put him up in the lineup. He's not afraid to take a player and put them where they're not necessarily supposed to be, just to see how it works. Just to see how it looks.
Yeah, versatility. That's what he loves.
It's fantastic. So I think everyone's going to have a chance to shine. And I don't see how that particular environment isn't going to help a player. Like, if Puljujarvi doesn't succeed in that environment under that sort of system, then obviously at $3 million, you want to get rid of him anyway. So that's why I think if he stays in Edmonton, he's going to do enough to put himself in a situation where they're going to be hard pressed to say they don't want this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Kelly,
if you guys are going to talk like you are, though, and JP's staying, then Fogle has to go. And if Fogle has to go, then Holloway almost does get that third line spot. Who else is going to take it, you guys? The only other spot is Janmark. So, and I think we brought him in to penalty kill and play fourth line. So, quite honestly, if this is how it's going to go, Holloway's a left shot. That's where he is going to go. I don't think
Well,
Kirk's wearing his
Janmark,
typical
I
foil
mean,
hat here.
No,
Janmark's should be an upgrade on Fogel. You got to figure
Well,
for
penalty
less
killing got
money.
better than
That's the
he's
price.
a lot better than Archibald on the penalty kill and Sevier
Holland hasn't been afraid to correct some of the errors he's made either in the last little while.
for sure.
So he might look at that Fogel thing and, I tried. I thought it was going to help, and it didn't really do a lot.
I thought you were going to say we tried. We'll take Ethan Bear back. You can have Fogel.
Yeah.
And then we can trade Barry, and this just makes everything all better.
Yeah, the world is right again. Yeah.
And we can all sing Kumbaya tonight to go to sleep.
Okay, guys, let's move on from Puljujarvi. I think we can all agree that what I said is probably the closest thing to being right. I see a few
for you to say.
nodding heads there. Yeah, probably falling asleep. Okay, let's talk about this Tkachuk trade because, and we're going to go back around on this. And what I want to focus on here, though, right? Like, Treliving did something I didn't think was going to be possible. He got a reasonably good return for Tkachuk. Most people have Calgary, after having lost Gaudreau and Tkachuk, as going down in points. But we talked about it last week. We talked about the Oilers' defense. And when Calgary under Sutter, right, you look at their defense. This is their defense right now. Hanifin and Anderson, Uyghur and Tanev, and Shillington and Zadorov. And I hate to look at that and look at our defense and put them side by side. And I just, there's no comparison from an offensive standpoint that the Oilers will outscore Calgary 99% of the time. I think, given the same lineup that they have, and understanding. But are we still did Calgary bump themselves up on us defensively yet again? And here we are talking about Puljujarvi, right? But we still got, I don't know. Everybody said Barry played better. Is he the guy you want on your defense? I know he plays a great power play, but honestly, you got Draisaitl and McDavid on your power play. Do we really need this power play specialist on defense? We could probably put you out there, Dash, right? And you'd probably still get, 20 or 30 points on the power play in the season. We need some upgrades on defense. Tell me what you think. Should we be more concerned about Calgary going into the next season? They've still got money to spend. I've seen this Kadri thing keep pumping up, and shit. I mean, I hate to say it, but they're not looking as bad as I thought they were going to look, and it's pissing me off. It's really pissing me off. I'm going to start with you, Dash. What you got?
Well, oxymoron there, because you said that they did not bad, but now all of a sudden you're pissed right off. So make your mind up. I'd say they did more than not bad. They did pretty goddamn good. He had a short time period to be able to pull that off. He turned a 9-day decision period into a 6-month window, really. I will be sitting on the edge of my seat with popcorn, like every GIF you've ever seen, waiting to see what Huberdeau and Uyghur do. The devil on my shoulder is like, oh, please walk, because they're not going to trade him at the trade deadline. How are they going to be able to do that if they're going to be right now between them and the Kings? They're really our only competition to win the Pacific. If they're in a playoff position or a playoff hunt, they can't go and trade those guys, and they're going to be in the same position at the end of the year. Well, they might lose their two best players for nothing. Did they get better than us on D? Yeah, Uyghur's really good, really good. And we lost Duncan Keith, who really good, obviously. And so ultimately, My opinion in there, though, is that I'd take our top 9 or our top 12 a million times over than that Calgary team. So do we need to have better defense than them right now? I don't think so. I think we could start with who we have. I think we could potentially even really trade Barry and bring in a lunchbox. And as long as we're getting Broberry and Niemelainen and Deharney and Samarokov some minutes so that they can develop and see some NHL ice and make their mistakes now instead of in the playoffs, like we saw with Bouchard. Bouchard needs some more minutes. We can't do that if we go and get 2 or 3 good Bransons. I don't think that that's the best thing for us. I think that stuff will shake loose at the trade deadline, and then we can go and beef up for the playoffs or get depth for the playoffs. I truly think if I was the GM, the best strategy would be we're going to make the playoffs with the defense we have. So I just say roll the dice. Let's see where we end up and then adjust as we need to.
Yeah, good point. Good point. And one that I did bring up last week, and we'll.
Oh, and one last thing. I'm sorry, but the Battle of Alberta has changed forever. Like no Tkachuk, no Cassian. It'll be completely different. We'll see. But Huberdeau's better than Goudreau, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd take Huberdeau over Goudreau any day of the week. Yeah. Kirk, you're up.
Everybody wants to jump on the trade Barry train. He was good with Kulak during the playoffs. Like Kulak was that calming, that calming
Third
effect
pairing
on that. Well, I know it's third pairing, but still. And it's going to be tough because Bouchard's probably going to be in the second period with Kulak. I know. But one thing that stood out to me in Woodcroft's presser there, he talked about Vinny Desharnais. He was very high on him. Now, when trading cap rolls around and Woodcroft is kind of like, channeling that effect there to Vinny, say, hey, you want a spot, go get it. And that'll be the huge tell.
6'6". 6'6".
They're freaking trains. Like they're
Both
huge. They're freaking huge. You have twin towers there as your third pairing, Well,
and I said this last week, Kirk, and this is to the point that one of the points you're making, I think, is the one advantage we have over last year, or at least I believe we have, is we shouldn't have that complete drop off where we're fighting again for a playoff spot. And when you're in a secure spot going into the playoffs, you can give some of those guys minutes.
Yep.
And not worry about it. You don't have to run your top guys nonstop. You can bring those guys to the ground, and bring them in with a bit more of a winning attitude.
Not only we could, we should.
Yeah. You're right. We should do that. I'm calling Woodcroft right now. All right, Kirk, sorry to cut you off.
No, that was my main point. Just like the rookies, like as Dash said, they're kind of hopping off on him. Like what's Samarukov going to bring to the table during training camp? Like Niemelainen, you can go on and on and on. I'm still saying no to trading Barry. I know we need cap space. I know he's a positive. Like you can get good return on him if you do decide to trade him. So yeah,
you're I mean, yeah, it's all right. I mean, that's a fine and good opinion to have. I mean, the other thing that we got to keep in mind is, hopefully we're actually buying at the deadline this year instead of selling. And to Dash's point, we go into the deadline with what we got, and you can prepare yourself for playoffs then, which is not a privilege, or maybe not privilege isn't the right word, but not an opportunity we've had in recent years. Although the last time we started talking like this, the Oilers finished near last place the following year. So I don't know. Now we're going to move on to Josh, who I just realized what you remind me of, and I'm dating myself by saying this, but Max Headroom. Remember Max Headroom? Like the whole.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we got to
I
get
can
you.
feel that.
Like if your internet connection was lagging a little bit, we'd get like the full effect. But I'm feeling a little Max Headroom like. Anyway,
I like it.
For the young people watching right now, they're saying,
Yeah,
"What
lost.
the hell?"
But they're on
Here,
they're
before you
figuring it
go, let's let me go to the YouTube chat here.
Josh, if you're gonna like
Kelly's
have a strobe light
Kelly's
running,
been
at least
saying
give
a
us
lot,
a.
but Shane Govro
Didn't hear
said
that.
this is back the Puljujarvi piece. We'll move on from that. Kelly from Beer League says a rookie playing his offside in the NHL, talking about Holloway. There's a better chance Bourgault makes the team than Holloway plays right wing in his first NHL season. Don't forget about Shore. Yeah, we tried. We tried to forget about Shore.
Yeah,
but
he
it's
could play
still-
third line
He's
left
still
wing
there.
too.
He's
But
still there.
I'd rather see him in that fourth line.
Gulletson said recently on radio that Barry isn't a focal point on the power play. He's there to get the puck to 97 and 29. Some stranger says, are they the Flames? This is a good question. Better than LA defensively? Good question. Don't know the answer to that.
Depends if Doughty's healthy.
And Kelly says, lots of talk about Desharnais, right? Oilers hire an assistant coach in Bako who was an enforcer when he played to coach the D-men on the Condors. Reckon they want their D-men playing tougher. Good point. Good point. Josh, you're up.
I don't know. A lot's come up. I don't even necessarily remember the original question, but
Thoughts on Calgary?
We were
and
talking
thoughts on
about
the D.
Calgary defense.
Try to keep up.
Kind of how it
Right,
goes
right,
with
right,
the
right.
Oilers, Battle of Alberta.
Well, we just talked about some of that. With Calgary and size, what are you looking for? Are you looking for big, brute, brawny, body checking and hitting, or are you just looking for size and playing tougher? Like you just talked about that at the Condors. You want your players to play bigger and tougher, but I don't think you necessarily need to give up what we have to get the defenders that Calgary has that are size players. I like what we have in our defense based on what we want them to do under our system. I think we've all talked about how important the re-signing of Kulak was. And that's the kind of guy that we're looking for. I don't think we're looking for some big bruiser. I think we're looking for someone who can handle the pressure and physicality under a controlled system that we have that isn't going to take a ton of chances and go looking for hits for no reason other than to get a hit. That's the way I see it. Our system is pretty good that we want to get the puck out as quickly as possible. And with our forwards now that we have, we're going to be putting a lot of pressure on other teams' defense, hopefully more than our defense will be under pressure. We're going to try and get the puck out quickly. And I think we were very successful at that last year. There's no reason to believe that we can't do it with most of the same players under the same coach who now has a full season and a full training camp to implement that system properly. And you look at what we're saying, we're seeing our homegrown players, like listen to our problems. Our problems are that we don't know if we have room for Tyson Barrie. Our problem is that we don't think Puljujarvi is a good enough third liner for our club. Our problem is that our homegrown talent that we have developed into our system
in the minors
are going to come in and take spots from proven NHLers. Listen to these problems. When was the last time we had these types of problems in Edmonton? When you really think about it, like this is a very fun time to be around this organization. Now, maybe it'll bomb, maybe it'll backfire, and we'll lose all these players. Maybe things will go wrong. But I don't think there's ever been this much reason for optimism. So if you look at Calgary's lineup versus our lineup, I'm going to take our lineup. I'm going to take our lineup and I'm going to run with it. And if they tank, they tank. But the potential in both lineups, I think the Oilers' potential is higher. And I'd like to see where they can go. I don't think we really need to have that much concern. I'm not saying they're going to be easy or pushovers or whatever. I just think that The Oilers need to worry about the Oilers and continue on the trajectory they're on and their path to a championship. That's what they need to worry about. And, you know, you do have to look at, okay, we have to get through them because they're in their division. But I don't necessarily look at it like that. I just look at it as one more milestone to get to for the big goal, which is, you know, the Avalanche or those types of teams. And ultimately getting out of your division will just happen. I don't think teams are that different. Calgary's not that different from all the other teams we have to worry about to focus our attention on just trying to beat them in our division.
So it's funny. You bring up something that's kind of interesting, or, you know, it kind of leads to my thought in this, which is if you look at the records, if you were to do the records from when Woodcroft got to the Oilers, Edmonton, there were the three top teams in the league from the time Woodcroft started were Florida, Calgary, and Edmonton. And Florida and Calgary are different this year, right? Because they made a trade. So they're hoping that chemistry somehow translates, or that the two of them had what it took to, or need, you know, each of the other squads had what they needed to get that much better. And Edmonton is more or less going into next season with that team that was top of the roster. But let's add in the fact that we've got some certainty behind the bench, right? And we've got a guy that seemingly got more out of this defense than we've been able to get out of them in the past. So as much as I don't love the defense, right? Like, I think we need an upgrade, and I don't know where it would come from anyway. I mean, I've got no answer to that. I just don't, you know, I look at them, you know, side by side with other defenses in the league, and I don't think it's great. But at the same time, maybe they are great, and we just haven't had the defensive structure to make them into that team.
Well, maybe look at it this way. I'll bring 3 points up. Maybe look at it this way. We're looking at D lineups compared to D lineups, but what about the combination of our groups of 5 that we're going to have on the ice at any given time? Our forwards and their capabilities and what they can do combined with that defense on the ice at the same time, a problem. Maybe other teams' third lines don't match up as well as our third lines, and their third pairing has to be better than our third pairing because they're going to be asked to do a lot more or be put under in different situations based on the players they're going to be on the ice with on a regular basis. I kind of like our groups of 5. When you look at our roster, who's on the ice, it's not like I'm going, oh, we got to hide this guy or that guy. There's really not that many players where I'm sitting there going, oh, he's on, limit that guy. I don't know.
Yeah, no, good points, and actually a good time for Jeff to get in, because he's the one guy that can remove all bias of being an Oilers fan and talk openly and honestly with us and tell us how great our team is.
He's here to decrease our Homer per 60.
That's right. What's your thought, Jeff?
Yeah, I don't know where to begin. Sorry. The few things with the Tkachuk trade. I feel like it's good for both Calgary and Florida. You know, Florida, I don't think they're getting enough credit for the trade because they were going to be stuck financially, and they got younger in Tkachuk, and points wise, they're pretty much paying Tkachuk the same thing, or maybe even a little less what they would have paid Huberdeau there. You know, the one thing I question about Florida is their defense is a little weaker though. After Ekblad, it's a huge drop off after Ekblad there. Turning to Calgary though, I love their defense. I'm a huge fan of Weegar. I think Weegar is great. And Hubert is going to take a step back there, but they still got a good team there. You know, their defense is really great, especially compared to Edmonton. So Markstrom back there, you know, he's a good goalie, even though he seems to not look that way against the Oilers usually. But Markstrom is still a pretty good, decent goalie, right? So I think Calgary's still going to be somebody you should worry about with their defense. Some teams, especially a Sutter run team, they'll use their top defenders to their advantage, right? So I think the Flames still look okay, and it'll be a good battle of Alberta in a different kind of way. Like, it won't be as physical with Tkachuk gone and Kassian gone, but they'll still be close battles, right? So what else to circle back
Question
on?
for you, Jeff. Are you ever going to forget where you were when that trade was announced?
Okay, first of all, it was a bit of a joke. I was just trying to exaggerate with that. It was just funny timing. I just stepped away for a few minutes to the concession stand, and I was just checking my phone, and holy crap, that trade went down. And buddy I was standing beside, he happened to be a Flames fan in the lineup at the concessions, and he didn't believe me at first. And I had to like show him like Elliot Friedman tweet there, and I was like, "Look, man, like it actually happened. Tkachuk's going to Florida there." So I happened to strike up a conversation with the Flames fan in the concessions at the ballpark, and it was just a cool little thing. The timing of that also.
And Jeff and I were together that night at a Riverhawks game with Ryan Lotzie, and we were like our jaws were on the floor. We were like,
Yeah.
like Huberdeau and Uyghur and a first and a prospect.
It's the first that kills me.
Yeah, and honestly, good for Calgary, because looking at all those names, did we really think they would pull in these types of names for the Tkachuk? Like the names they were tossing around, nobody was tossing around these kind of caliber names, right? Now, whether they're able to keep them or not is another story, but it's good for them to kind of bring them in and kind of have it a bit of a Band-Aid fix for now and see what they can do with Huberdeau Uyghur there, right? So I think Uyghur might end up staying. They have the money, they can pay him. He's going to be in a Canadian market. Huberdeau might be a different story, but they got to see, I think, how the season goes, right? With Huberdeau, it's his first time kind of in that in-your-face market. He's been under the radar in Florida his whole entire career. Now he gets to see what it's like to deal with Eric Francis and the likes of a Canadian market there in Calgary. So is he going to enjoy that kind of thing? Is he going to...
Not to mention Zito wanted to make him expendable because he thought that he didn't have the intangibles or that he was soft. And that's, you're going to go play for Sutter? Have fun, Hubie.
Yeah, so in a way, it's almost a show me season for Huberdeau, because he's got to prove if this one season wasn't a one-off for him, that he got over the 100 points in a career year. Is that a one-time deal, or is that going to be a consistent thing for him? So he's got a lot to prove this year too for himself, and whether he stays in Calgary or not, he's got to show himself whether he deserves his big paycheck and his big payday. So Huberdeau's going to come out flying as best as he can, but it's going to be interesting. Oh, wow, we got Ryan.
Yeah, lots of dropped in from the roof like Tom Cruise there. Jesus.
Stop.
Hey, Ryan Lotsberg, same question. You ever going to forget where you were the night that the Matthew Tkachuk trade was announced?
Well, how could I? Hey, with the
right
boys
answer.
at Heavy Hockey at the Riverhawks game?
Yeah, I remember Jeff Aid was there. Some other guy.
Jeff and some other guy.
Some other guy.
Yeah.
Jeff and some other guy.
Lotzie and I were the ones that were together because Jeff was at the concession stand. It was our jaws that were on the floor. We're just like, what?
Yeah, Mike saw the return first, and he just looks at me and was like, dude, you're not going to believe the return.
That's awesome.
And I didn't.
All right, Dursa, you're up. You're up. And just to kind of catch you up there, Mr. Lotsberg, welcome to the show. Beauty hat, by the way. Love it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry I make it look better, but that's just the way it is. It's my show.
It's a little luckier on your head,
Those
too.
breaks.
I've got control of the mute button, so that's the way it is. We're talking about the trade in Calgary, but I brought up that when you look at the Calgary defense, they look a little bit better than the Oilers defense right now, adding Uyghur in there and what they had. And how Edmonton, I would say that's our weak point right now, and how this is going to kind of shake down as far as the Pacific goes, and some of the things in that realm, how it relates to the Oilers. And Mr. Mike Dursa is up. He's got his spot on the floor. He's been actually, I'm fairly certain he's sick because he's been really quiet today. And, but here you go, Mike. I'm telling you, like, run with it, man. Run with it. Let's hear it. Let's hear what you got to say, man.
If he can't do it like Kevin Weeks, he doesn't want to do it at all.
That's right.
That's right. It's got to be Weeksy or nothing. So I got to explain to Dash because he couldn't understand English in the group chat there.
Oh boy, here we go.
Calgary,
Ding, ding,
like
ding.
that was a phenomenal trade for them under the gun. Tkachuk wanted out. He wasn't going to stay. They could have held on to him for the year, but they turn around, they flip him for Huberdeau and Uyghur, and somehow get a first. Now the first is the insurance package in case Uyghur and Huberdeau walk. That was the English that you didn't comprehend.
No,
there,
except
Dash.
you're using the word wash. You're like, the draft pick makes it a wash. A wash to me means a trade is now even.
basically I said almost a wash. That makes it almost even because Tkachuk was never going to stay in Calgary.
I feel like a little deja vu happening here.
Yeah. So they did
we
really
get what you mean, Dursa.
Yeah, they did really fucking well there, and I hate it. But are they as good, now as they were at the end of the season? I don't think so. They lost two really good players in Gaudreau and Tkachuk. Yes, they got back Huberdeau. Yes, they got back Uyghur that helps their D, but they lost Goodbranson. So, it's two steps forward, one step back for them. And I just don't think they're quite as good a team to start the season as they were to end last year. And us picking up Jack Campbell is something nobody talked about. I think that helps our defense. I think we got rid of some of the chaos in our game. Our defense are going to have to, get used to actually having to go back and retrieve more pucks, I think, now. So there's going to be a bit of an adjustment, but I don't think those, passes that go awry onto other team sticks and end up in the back of our net are going to be, a constant theme again.
I guarantee you the goalie won't be screaming at the defenseman anymore.
Yeah, no, I think Jack Campbell is like Zach Hyman, only in goalie gear instead of
his nickname was Ned Flanders. I think their personalities are.
I'd just like to announce a trade. We just traded Ryan for Jeff.
Oh wow!
I don't know what happened to Jeff.
Great voice,
but we weren't able to re-sign Jeff. And they just all of a sudden he was there. Poof! He's
breaking news.
He's back.
He's back.
There he is.
Yeah.
All right.
I thought the game was called on account of darkness. You had to go home. But
welcome back, Jeff. Welcome back.
Technical issues.
That's really all I had on that. That's kind of what I feel there.
Yeah. No. You know what? I agree with you. I mean, that first is you're 100%. That's the little extra they need to make that trade worthwhile to sign or to trade for two guys that only have a year left, right? Because I look at that as and we're veterans of this type of trade arena for, as Oilers fans, like the guy saying he wants a trade and everybody knowing he's on the move and then getting, completely burnt and watching the team just, like we're giving away assets. And I was certain that at the end of the day, we'd be laughing at Calgary for giving Tkachuk away for a couple of draft picks and a thank you video on their YouTube channel. But hey, Trey Living did something, pretty amazing. Although I don't think any of this is great for Edmonton, for Calgary, for any of the Canadian teams, because the one thing we're not talking about is these Americans leaving Canada, right? And that to me is for however long guys weren't drafting Russians, right? I think Canadian teams got to look at this and say, do we want to draft Americans? Right? Like I'm not joking about it. I'm being serious. Like, do you want to draft an American player to play in a Canadian market? I probably wouldn't, right? I just wouldn't, I wouldn't do that given what we see. And a lot of people are talking, and of course, Matthew says that. Yamo doesn't seem to mind, but he played pretty darn close to Canada, so he's
both states.
Yeah, so he's maybe a little bit different. But anyway, that's kind of my thought. Dash, you're up.
Really?
Yeah. Did we start with you, or did I?
I think so.
Oh, jeez. We don't need to hear from you again. We got Lotsberg, though, here. Lotsy,
hi.
I know you've been listening intently for the last hour.
Yeah, totally. I wasn't out and about or anything.
That's right. That's right. So what are your thoughts? Trade, otherwise, you, Jeff, and some other guy, when you heard it come down, what, tell us about it.
Yeah, I was flabbergasted that it was Huberdeau. Like, I was like, how did they get Huberdeau out of Florida? like, I mean, the more I've analyzed the trades, like the more I get it from both sides. I think Calgary got the best player in the deal in Huberdeau. Like, I think Tkachuk is being overhyped, over glorified. Yes, he's a very good
Generational player.
Generational, yeah.
Lottie, since you've analyzed this so much, can you explain to Dursa how it can't be a wash and Calgary do really
Geez,
effing well?
Are we still on this?
I can only do so much with Dash.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Try being on a podcast with them.
No, I mean, Florida got worse today, but from an asset management point of view, like even if whether they thought they could resign Huberdeau or not, they've got themselves a 24-year-old player locked up for the prime of his career. So from that standpoint, good move from Florida, but their team got worse in the here and now. That's a President's Trophy winning team already. So that's a tough blow for them, I think. Calgary, they took on a lot of risk here, but I think it's a pretty good risk. Like Huberdeau, I mean, he's tied for second in the league in scoring last year. He was my pick for the Hart Trophy, but he's an unbelievable player right now. And they're Mackenzie Weegar is really, really good defenseman too. Like he makes the D really well rounded now. Like Calgary got rid of Goodbranson and brought in Weegar. It cost them a little bit to do it, but that's an upgrade to their defense.
If nothing else, Calgary pushed back the rebuild a year.
Yeah, that's
they kicked the problem down the road. Fair to say?
Definitely fair to say. I mean, we don't know if it's going to be a problem yet. They could re-sign at any point throughout the season, but it's a risk because if they're not in the playoff mix, which I anticipate they will be, but if they're not in the playoff mix, you might deal them. But if they're in the middle of it, they're not going to trade those guys, and they could walk. Like, there's a ton of risk here for Calgary, but for like Mike said, up against the wall with a player they knew they weren't going to get back after next year, it was a good move.
Yeah. No, good points. I'll tell you this. I was listening to Tkachuk talk about going to Florida, and this was on Sirius XM, I think. And he said this, like, I just want to throw up when players talk like this. But when asked what he's going to bring to Florida, he said, well, I'm going to bring a little bit of swagger. Like, are you shitting me? Come on, buddy. I'm going to bring a little bit of swagger. Who talks like that? A Tkachuk.
Kids these days.
Pretty much.
Tkachuk, that's who talks like that.
Oil fans were saying that about Kane, but it wasn't Kane saying that himself. That's totally different.
That's exactly it. All right, guys. We're over the hour mark. I'm keeping you all past school. If any of you need to drop off, just let me know. But we're going to do one more topic and then shut her down for the night. What I want to talk about is there's still a couple guys that need to be signed, right? And we've talked about them tonight at length, but just kind of in the peripheral. It's Yamamoto. There's a certain, I don't know if it's 50-50, but there's quite a few people out there who'd tell you they'd prefer Puljujarvi over Yamamoto. Like, where do you guys sit on that? Like, what are we gonna, what kind of signing are we gonna get him at? You guys think it's gonna be another 1 year signing? I mean, it's hard to say when a guy's going into arbitration like that, where he's at. And then let's talk about the other guy that still remains, McLeod. And here's a guy that I think, come playoff team last year, this team, he's maybe it's hard to, I always hate using the word underrated because we all noticed him, but I think we could have talked about him more in the playoffs. Like, he was a utility player up and down the lineup. And a guy, the only thing that McLeod doesn't do maybe is put huge points on the board. But other than that, he's turned out to be everything that as Oilers fans we wanted. And you can tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I don't think. And more. Like, he's certainly turned out to be, and every scouting report there was about him prior to the draft turns out to be a piece of shit, right? Because everybody said that the guy, Yeah, the guy, he didn't want to go into the dirty areas, right? Like that was
What a player.
look at the guy's teeth. Tell me he's not been in the dirty areas, right? Like he's, that's where he's lived his life by the looks of it to me. Anyway, at the end of the day, let's talk about Yamamoto and McLeod, and let's try to keep it a little bit short. We're going to start, we'll start with Dursa. You get the call this time. And, let's talk about these guys. Where do you think they kind of slot in for the upcoming year? Your thoughts? And, maybe tie in Fogle. Let's just talk about a little bit of these extras that are sitting there. Maybe Shore, right? Kind of finish off what you think the Oilers need to do to kind of get over that hump. I mean, there's one, the hump for the Oilers right now is the Avalanche, right?
Yeah,
that's the hump. I think I think most people. In fact, it was surprising. The Athletic did their predictions, and the Oilers were sitting in fourth with points or percentage of vote for winning the Stanley Cup. Surprised the hell out of me. Ahead of Toronto, right? Ahead of Toronto for finishing with points. And this is. We're talking NHL sports writers who will pretty much, if given any opportunity to put Edmonton down, in the dumps. In fact, they put Broberg. He doesn't even make the top 50 prospects, right, for under 23. So anyway, so that's where we're at. So Dursa, what are your thoughts? Kind of all the rest: McLeod, Yamamoto, Fogle, Shore.
Yeah, something tells me Fogel's gone. I think he's done here. I don't think they saw enough out of him, and I think they expected more, and he let them down, and I feel like he's gone. Yamamoto, I think, is going to come in.
So, Mike, before you go on, because the Fogle thing is going to come up 5 more times.
Yep.
Another thing I want to hear from you guys is how important does the way a guy fits into the culture matter? Because every time you see guys together, Fogel's part of the team.
Yeah, I don't think that's the problem. Like I think the chemistry with him and the other guys on the team is good. I just think the production isn't what they wanted out of him. And I think the physicality wasn't quite what they expected either.
Consistency.
Yeah. But if they deal him and they've lost Cassian, you're down to Kane, really, that you've lost Archibald. So, you are at a deficit from a physicality standpoint. So you need to find that, somewhere. So that'll have to be addressed, but I just feel like he's going to be gone here relatively quickly. I think Yamamoto is going to come in similar to Puljujarvi. It might cost a little bit more. It might cost a little bit more to get him done. And that might be why Yessi got announced first. I think McLeod probably $1.5 million is probably where that's going to fall, I think. And he's a useful player, and I look forward to him adding a little bit more of what Yessi, I guess, needs consensus wise, some more finish. But he was very valuable for us in the playoffs. Responsible, reliable, and second coming of Bobby Clark, if we want to make fun of the teeth some more. So yeah, no, I like that. I don't know if Devon Shore really adds much to the team anymore, especially when Colorado's the bar. I think we need to get faster. The only really major shift, I think, from this season to the end of last year so far is really Jack Campbell, though. So I think a little bit more change needs to happen here, because we need to get better. We can't just tread water and stand pat. We need to get a little bit better.
Yeah. No, great points, and we haven't even talked about Campbell, so I guess that's the cue there. Dash, you're up.
I think that.
God, thanks for your opinion, Kirk. I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Dash.
You're welcome.
Give us the goods, my friend.
Best thing I've
Give
said all
us
night.
the goods.
Yamo comes in at he has to come in at more than Puljujarvi. He scored 20 goals and he had 40 points. And,
Yeah.
those are landmarks. So I think that probably set the bar when you give $3 million to Puljujarvi. I'd say it has to start at 3.5 now for Yamo. I'd say McLeod probably depends on whether he signs for 2 years or one. I think if it's a 1 year deal, it could get up to 1.5. 2 year deal, maybe he takes 2.25 or 1.25 or 2.5 over the 2 years, something like that. I'm not sure what kind of bridge he would be looking for. He'd be smart to take a 1 year deal, especially if he's going to end up on the second power play with Kane and a couple of capable wingers and either Bouchard or Barry, whoever's not on the first one. So he's got an opportunity to drive up his price if he bets on himself. I think what we need to do is, chemistry aside, there's still a lot of it left on the team, and I think the players understand that they can't keep everybody, and Fogle probably has to be the next guy moved out. My solution would probably be to move JP and Fogle, to be honest. I think that, if you could get a warm body or somebody back, like I know we joked Ethan Bear, that's not realistic, but somebody in that range, or, maybe our buddy over in Detroit can, eat some salary and give us Sherratt, even though they just signed him. You never know, right? Like there's always something that could be done. But I think we get those draft picks for those guys in a deep draft next year. Try to stock the cupboard a little bit while we can, and make the cap room while we can. And man, if there's smoke where there's fire, and Phil Kessel will come and play for $2 million or less, or $1.5 million, I'd take that on my wing instead of JP or Fogle, to be honest. The guy should have won a Conn Smythe trophy, in my opinion. And everybody talks about his lack of foot speed. He's never had foot speed. He's run into a hot dog cart, I guess the rumors are. But I think that makes more sense for where we're going this in the playoffs. And I said what I would do before with the D. I would let the young guys play and bring in some beef at the trade deadline if you really need to, and start to develop some of our young guys.
Yeah, no, those are great points, and the whole
Campbell.
Kessel talk, right, hasn't been brought up. I mean, I look at that. I mean, the two things that, and maybe they're fan generated, but you hear Kessel, and then you hear Kadri, maybe going Calgary wise. The whole Calgary thing is, or Kadri thing is unbelievable to me, because when have you like, as a free agent, if your agent doesn't get you a deal on day one, like, you're fucked, right? Isn't that
I think he's waiting for Colorado to clear space.
I know, but like, you've screwed yourself. Like, it's happened to so many players, right? Every year, some guy thinks he's going to wait a couple extra days. And what did we hear coming out originally with Kadri was he's talking to a number of different camps, and he's going to decide which one. And then all those camps started signing free agents. And it's like, well, who's got money left anymore? Anyway.
Probably proves he's willing to take a bit of a team discount to be able to try and win another cup again. And
I think he ends
less than $4.5 million, that's for sure. But
I think he's buying Colorado time, like you said right off the hop there, Dash.
Yeah,
I agree, but I'm not sure Colorado should make the moves they'd have to make in order to do that either, right? So it's tough to say, especially if they got to move one of those big pieces on the back end. Just to wrap up, though, Campbell. Honestly, I think quickly we got a goalie at the market price. It is what it is. We needed to address the position. We addressed the position. I'm starting to really strongly believe that the goaltending position, and Kirk might have the best opinion on this, given he's the host of the Paddle Down podcast. Goalies are becoming a little bit like the running back in the NFL, where I think they're just a bit of a plug and play type of position. Kemper just won a cup. He was an average to above average goalie. I think he just is, as a goalie, you have certain skills that are strengths, right? You're either good lateral, bad lateral. You're good shallow, you're not. You have a good glove, you don't. You're good under pressure, you're not. You're good technically, you're tight. All those things matter depending on what the other chemical formula of your team is, right? Like if you've got a team that gives up high danger chances, well, then you need that cool cucumber back there. So I want to give Holland and his kid Brad a little bit of credit to think that they might have actually done some homework on Campbell and made sure that they've got the right type of personality and the right person back there for the type of hockey they plan to play.
Well, and anybody who doesn't trust Hyman, right? Like Hyman
and Hyman's wife.
yeah. I mean, Hyman, you just like, I love the guy. He's such a nice guy. Such a nice guy. Good to have him on the team. Kirk, you're up. Campbell. Talk was Campbell. Like Dash was like talking sweet nothings in your ear just now. So what you got for us?
Well, Campbell wasn't first on my list, my wish list there for free agent goalies, but there wasn't a whole heck of a lot to choose from. But his time in Toronto, like, you can't really, apart from the playoffs, of course, but for overall performance there, he did decent. The biggest thing that I just want to wish for
the entire NHL before the All-Star break.
Yeah, and then kind of fell off a cliff after that, came back down to earth. But the biggest thing that we've got now is that we've got somebody locked in and just bring consistency. That's my biggest wish. Just to bring consistency to that position. And I think the other kicker is working with Skinner. I think they'll make a good tandem personally. You hear him talking about Skinner and vice versa there. Skinner's pretty stoked. I would be too, with the opportunity that I'm getting here finally. So you hear Kevin Woodley talk about him there on the Gregor show there a little while back. And the biggest thing, one of the biggest things for Campbell is his confidence. As long as he's maintaining that, just keeping that even keel, he's a great goaltender. But he's just seen last year there, he kind of lost it there for a bit.
Kirk, I gotta say though, I think Toronto's a hell of a lot harder to play as a goalie than Edmonton. I think we don't get on our goaltenders as like insanely as they do in Toronto.
Yeah, well,
what was wrong with Freddie?
Yeah. Yeah, well, a lot of people were harping about Smith, though, too. You got to remember, there's a lot of fans that are on edge about even our goalie coach, for Christ's sake. So, I don't know.
Yeah, we're harder on our goalies. I mean, maybe not as hard as Toronto, but we're hard on them, too.
Yeah. But yeah.
People didn't run Smith out of Edmonton, though. And he gave them opportunities at times, right?
Yeah, I hate to agree with Durst, but I don't really remember the last goalie we piled on, to be honest. We all.
Oh, you guys got short memories. We piled on Smith and we piled on every goalie, and we're Oilers fans. We pile on everybody.
Talbot for a while. I mean, towards the end,
people heckled Connor McDavid and his family. I mean, shit.
They were
you guys forget what it's like to play in Edmonton.
That was Steve Simmons and Damian Cox.
Yeah.
Steve Simmons
I think we've been plenty hard on goaltenders. Yeah,
even Mikko there at times. But I personally, I think Connor said it best. If you can play in Toronto, you can play anywhere. So,
yeah. Hey, it takes a certain player to play in a Canadian market, right? Like you got to be able to deal with the pressure that comes with it. Specifically, Toronto, Edmonton, Vancouver, and Montreal. Right,
Campbell's American too.
Yeah. Fair enough. I just finished saying don't sign any Americans. And, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting, man. But he sounds stoked to be here. He's, and a lot of Toronto fans are saying you guys are getting a good guy. A lot of Pittsburgh fans said that about Cody Ceci there last year, and look what happened, right? So get a new lease on life, new outlook, new crew to work with.
Clean slate.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, I think it looks good. All right, Jeff, what are your thoughts as the outsider looking in?
I'll try to pull the outsider a little bit. With Campbell there, it's an improvement than Smith, but I still wonder how much of an overall improvement. He's been a career backup his entire career, except for this past season. It was the first time he's played over 35 or over 40 games was just this last year. So he's going to get $5 million. So you're going to expect to play him lots. So can he handle that type of workload? Can he stay healthy, stay consistent? Because it'll be the first time in his career where they're going to toss him about 50 games roughly and say, hey, you're the guy, you're the go-to guy. Let's see what you have, kind of thing. So let's see.
Really convincing. Can we mute him?
5 minutes already done.
No, I'm a huge Skinner fan though too. So I think that's where they got the luxury. They got Skinner right there just in case something does happen with Campbell. If Campbell needs a break or Campbell gets hurt, like I think Skinner can jump in and take those games. It's just that I just look at Campbell's games played throughout his whole career, and just last year was the only time he's played over half the season. So they're going to expect him to probably play over half the season this year. And what kind of Campbell are you going to get, right?
Well, and last season was all said and done, he had a lower save percentage than Smith.
Yeah, and that's good too. Like I said, it's just 1 year to go off of, and the most recent year. So hopefully something is there. And the one thing you brought up earlier, Dash, is Kemper in Colorado, but it's just Colorado had a premium blue line and the defense there to kind of also balance things out, which I don't think the Oilers have. So the Oilers blue line isn't as premium or top shelf as Colorado is. So Campbell might be a little different than the Kemper situation as well if you look at the blue line.
Well said.
Was Toronto's blue line all that excellent as well?
Yes and no. Like I like Riley out there, but then who else do they have to work with, right? Like what's his name? Muzzin like these days? Like they got an aging defense with Muzzin and even Giordano. Like they're still good for their age, but at the same time, what are you going to get with guys like Muzzin
really
and
good
Giordano?
possession game in the first half of the season.
They did, yeah. And one question I was going to say to you guys, if I could toss a question out, is they're over the cap limit. Oilers are. Somebody's got to go. So it's either going to be Fogle or Puljujarvi at this point because they're over the cap and something's still got to trickle down and happen there. They can't go into the season with the type of roster they have right now. So whether it be Fogle or Puljujarvi, it's got to be one of those two. And I'm going to disagree with Dash as much as I love you, buddy. I don't think it's going to be Barry just because if you can see from Holland's history, he doesn't really run with young players all too often. And if you trade Barry, that's an awful young blue line there with Broberg and Bouchard and even Niemelainen there. That's just a very young blue line for a team that you're expecting to be top 5 in the whole league, right? A lot of teams like Colorado's and Tampa's, they don't really run with such a youth, that many youth dabbled into their lineup, right? So I think Barry does stay, and it comes down to either Fogle or Puljujarvi as a whole. And we were talking about Yamamoto earlier, and the Puljujarvi contract sets the number in a way. I think he should come in around maybe 3.25 for Yamamoto. And does he get 1 year or 2 year as well, though? That's another question of that. But I think you base it off what Puljujarvi just got, and I think Yamamoto could be a little higher, right? So, but at the end of the day, I think they still got a big kind of question mark as to who's going to be the fourth line center, because you got Shore there. You got could Brad Malone be the full-time fourth line center? Or they even brought in Greg McKegg there. And with McKegg, he played over half the season with the Rangers last year. So he showed signs that he can sort of step in when needed to, because the Rangers are another Final Four team. But the Oilers, what's going to happen to their fourth line center? Because as a team of their caliber that you expect to be in the top 4 back in the conference finals, that fourth line center spot's going to need to be a crucial spot too. Like every spot of the lineup is going to be crucial.
Yeah. Good
Awesome.
points. Good points. And always good to get your unbiased view.
Probably a little too well said, actually.
One last thing, sorry, Michael, just to pick on the host a little bit, you're bringing up the buddy system with Fogle a little bit, and we saw that with Kassian, but Kassian still ended up, being shown the door, and I feel like as much as they're buddies with Fogle, the tough decisions might have to happen. You know what I mean? Like, whether you look at, do they keep a fourth line left winger in Fogle, or do they keep the third line right winger in Puljujarvi? Right?
I disagree on the whole Kassian. Like, Fogle is everywhere. Like, Kassian was not in all the
Okay.
pictures.
Yeah, but do you want a
anytime
Stanley
you-
Cup or do you want romantic walks with Warren
well,
Fogle in the park?
romantic walks with Warren Fogle.
I just feel like Kassian's
That's
part
you.
of that group.
I'm not
but-
saying that it's one way or the other. I'm just how do you think it factors in? And clearly,
who-
you think it doesn't factor.
They
in.
both go.
Who
Jeff.
leaves town though? Somebody's got to go,
Both.
right? Somebody's got to go. Stay.
JP and Fogle. They're both gone.
You think both?
I
Eh?
do. I think they're both probably.
Oh,
gone
Dash, you
myself.
think both? Are you sure?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that. That's the first time I've heard you say that.
Hey,
Pretty positive.
hey, Josh, it's not even your turn yet.
Sorry.
I'd like to just say
heard it
that
here
we've all done pretty well not to have an epileptic seizure with Josh's frame.
yeah. I've got to put
Yet.
I got to put a warning on this episode. Caution, lights
mean-
strobing.
Caution may cause breakdancing.
That's right. Yeah. Well, there we go. All right, Lotzi, you got your spot here.
All right, sounds
Time
good.
spot right before Josh. What'd you got?
Where do I start? There's so many things to talk about, but this is a quick word on Campbell. I mean, it wouldn't have been my first choice either, but I'm not displeased with it. Like I'm happy he's here, but like, I look at, yes, Mike Smith got us to the conference finals, but that was a spot that needed to be upgraded, even if Smith was healthy. Because I'm looking at the Calgary series. He had 2 games where he was above a league average save percentage. And against Colorado, game 3 was the only game where he was above a league average save percentage. So you need better goaltending than that in the playoffs. That's just the way it is. I think we did well to outscore our problems on the back end. And you look at the quality of the types of goals that Mikko Koskinen and the odd time Smith would give up. They're momentum crushing and just, yeah, they're just terrible goals that just sap all the air out of the life of the bench. So that I hope with the combo of Campbell and Skinner, those don't happen nearly as often going forward. So happy with Campbell and happy with Skinner as the backup. And I mean, by the time that the contract is over for Campbell, Stuart Skinner could be ready to step into a number 1 role 5 years from now, right? Skinner's 23 right now, I believe. He'll be 28 when Campbell's done. That's about the start of a goaltender's prime. So things go right here, we could be set for the next decade. So I think we're in a good spot with our goaltending.
So you're saying dynasty?
Dynasty, clearly, yeah.
I heard it. You heard it here first. Decade. We had the decade of darkness. Now we got the dynasty decade. That's what we'll call it.
The
It doesn't
dynastic
quite-
decade.
We'll have to figure
Love
it
it.
out. We're working on it. It's a work on progress right now. All
To keep it wrestling, we've got the Diamond Dallas Dynasty.
right. There you go. There you go. We're getting it.
And I'm also happy with the Puljujarvi deal. I think 3 is about what he should have got, and I'm happy with that. 1 year makes me a little nervous because we're going to be right back in the same situation with him next year. And who knows where that's going to go. You got Bouchard as RFA. You got Skinner as RFA. So that leads me to Yamamoto. I'm really hoping that it's at least 2 years. I think it'll be a bridge deal of some kind because we can't afford to give him a long-term deal right now at the number he's going to want. So it's going to be a show-me deal. I think 2 years, 3.5 for Yamo. I'll go on record as calling that. He's going to get a little more than what Puljujarvi did, but we just can't afford to give him any more than 3.5. So we'll go with that. The reason I think Fogle is going to be the one to be moved as well. And the big reason for that is how stacked they are in left wing versus how depleted they are on the right wing. You move Zach Kassian out, and then suddenly you've got 2 players that were unsigned. Well, one now, Yamo and Puljujarvi on the right, and you got Derek Ryan, who's just moved to right wing halfway through the season last year. So aside from that, they got nothing on the right side. So then
Yeah,
you're
we
going to
have
trade
one
another
right-
one of those right wings?
One right winger signed.
Yeah.
Right? So I was thinking the same thing you were thinking, Dash, about Kessel. I was thinking you bring Fogle out, sign Kessel for $1 million. I think it was on Stauffer's show. They were talking about that potentially a few times. Kessel in at $1 million. It's where there's smoke, there's fire, maybe. And that is such a Ken Holland type of move too. Like you look at Brett Hall, Luke Robitaille, Mike Vidano at the end of their careers in Detroit, and around winning time for those guys. Like when he thinks the team is ready to win, he's willing to bring in those vets that are former stars at the tail end of their career.
That's our
Like-
Corey
Chilio's
Perry.
still skating.
Yeah, exactly. Yager might
Hey,
have
Gary,
to get a call here. I don't know.
You're always the one asking, Hebert, who's going to be our Corey Perry? Well, there's your slow,
Phil Kessel. Phil
there's your
Kessel.
slow
That's our-
skated net front presence
yeah,
that never
that's-
misses a game. Phil
That's
Kessel.
exactly what I have in
Hashtag,
mind.
hashtag brought back the whistle dog.
Hey, you know he's going to
Exactly
make
what I had in
82
mind.
games.
Destiny.
Yeah.
Iron Man.
Awesome. All right, we better let Josh get some words in. But I do have one thing before Josh goes. You know, I'm thinking about this whole Yamamoto thing. You think he's going to get a little bit more than Puljujarvi. When I look at Yamamoto and I look at Puljujarvi, Yamamoto, I feel like we already know what player he's going to be. And this is it. We've got, you know, we're getting the best out of Yamamoto that we're going to get. And he's a serviceable player. And Puljujarvi, on the other hand, nobody knows, right?
That's a good
Is
one.
he almost younger than Puljujarvi, though? Is he not?
Yeah,
Couple months.
yeah,
One
by like a year or something.
A
isn't it?
year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not.
4 months or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
I
why are we getting
think both have
ageist
room to
here now?
grow.
Are we ageist here now, Ryan?
Are we ageist? Yes. This is pro sports. Of course, we're ageist.
yeah. It's the one time we're allowed to be. All right, we saved the best for last, Josh. Like you sat there quiet in the corner. I know you like I could see the brain, like I could see the fumes coming off the top of your hat there a couple times. All right, give it to us straight. What are your thoughts? Tell us how we're going to the promised land. What does Ken Holland need to do?
Vogel's got to go. I agree with that. I think,
Just
like
wait.
I said,
so
I
you're
would,
saying you agree with Dash? Fogel's got
okay. I don't actually remember who said it. I don't remember who said it.
I don't remember who said it. That's right.
I do.
I don't agree. I say I still wouldn't get rid of Puljujarvi right now. I think he's going to come through this year. I think it's funny that we're excited about Campbell because he was really good at the first half of the year until he got hurt, and yet we're shitting on Puljujarvi because he had 25 points in 28 games and got COVID and didn't do so well, and that's reason to ship him out of town. Like I think we got to give him a chance to recover, to start over and see what happens. That's why I like the 1 year. That's why I said that. If they do get rid of him, it will be for cap relief, and I hope they do bring in someone like Kessel. But if you can do that without getting rid of Puljujarvi, then all the better, because there's another player to teach Puljujarvi what you need to do to score a goal. And I remember covering Pittsburgh when Kessel came in to that team, and he struggled the first half of the year really badly. He wasn't putting nearly the goals that they thought they'd get out of him. And
Malkin, we're fighting.
I kept trying to tell people, like, you don't get him for the regular season. It doesn't matter. He's going to peak at the right time. And did he ever? Boy, imagine if you'd have just pulled the gun and pulled the trigger and just gotten rid of him and said, you know what, I made a mistake. Let's try something else. To almost should have won the Conn Smythe. Like, I know Puljujarvi has had more chances than that. I understand that they've given him chances, but for what you're going to get out of getting rid of him right now versus where you're at in terms of where you want to be, you've already gone through a lot of transitional stages to get where you're at. Last year, everyone said the problem was goaltending. No one was saying, we were excited about the bolsters to our roster. The main problem everyone wanted to fix up was goaltending. And we were pretty much good enough other than goaltending. Now, all of a sudden, we went almost an entire show without talking about goaltending, and we finally fixed the problem after years of begging for it. And we're nitpicking about third and fourth liners. And I'm not saying that that's bad to do. I'm saying, look where we're at from where we were last year at this point. We don't need to talk about goalies. We almost forgot that was a problem. And we're so worried about what our bottom four and who's going to be in the press box versus who's going to be in the fourth line is going to look like. And that's, again, I'm not saying that to be negative. I'm saying that that's fantastic and amazing. And I love that that's our problem.
Yep.
You know, I'm pretty excited about Jack Campbell again. And I think $5 million, whatever, that's the price you're going to have to pay for a goalie like that. But I think I'm sorry to be toxically positive again, but I think the environment that's now created in the Oilers locker room, you can get rid of a guy like Fogle, who everyone loves, and it doesn't matter.
Must not have been steam coming out of his head. His ceiling fan must have shorted out.
That's right.
I got to push back on fix the problem. I think we addressed it. The proof will be in the pudding when Campbell plays to say whether or not we fixed it.
Yeah.
I like that wording. I really do, because that's what it is to me. It's not necessarily that we're a shoe in now. We just are the potential. The ceiling now is so high, depending on how these guys
There's your once a podcast. You make sense.
So now we just get to go through the joy and the fun of watching whether or not these guys succeed or completely blow off the face of the earth, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the beauty of pro sports. But I've never been more excited to see what this team is going to do. And last year, I thought the possibilities were pretty high. It was just being held back by one issue to me, which was coaching. We all agreed on that. And as soon as they solved that problem or addressed that problem, we weren't sure whether they solved it then or not either, but they addressed it, and look how that worked out. So I'm hoping that some of these other chances they're taking are going to work out in the same way.
I just want to say I never had a doubt we were making it to the conference finals last year. From the start.
Boy.
Never once. Never once. All right. Toxically positive. Josh ends our last topic. We're gonna do the last word. I'm gonna give the last word to Dash tonight, but we'll do like a quick around the horn. You guys, a couple things before you go. Anything you got to say it then. I just want to thank you guys as always. This is the group. Well, I don't know what I said, but there he's back. He's
no
back.
Power.
Sorry, I won't call you toxically positive anymore. No, you know what, guys? This is great. This is kind of the start. We're within 2 months of training camp. Heavy Hockey is the Heavy Hockey Network. This is what it looks like, and we're missing a couple guys. Obviously, some ref guy, and Spencer and Eric, and I can say that because I know he's not going to hear it. But this is the group, and this is where the articles are going to come out, and the podcasts, and the 10-game suspensions, and the Buffalo Sabres talk, which is brand new to the Heavy Hockey Network, and it's going to be a great season. It should be a good season. In fact, I think it'll be a good season for the Sabres this year. They've got rid of some of what I think, was a challenge in terms of, like the big dark cloud hanging over their heads, and they've got, some good things happening there. And they've always, as we know, Sabres have had some good players come and go, but sometimes it's just a matter of, making sure the right guys are in the room that, want to be there and want to prove that, there's something to be made. And obviously there's no way to go but up for the Sabres, and for the Oilers, it's finally nice to be talking about, playoffs and having some confidence to know or to think that we're going to be there. Now, we've been in this situation before, but I do feel like this is different. I think, it's a safe bet that we're going to be in the playoffs this year, and if we're not, something's gone terribly wrong, right? So we'll see where that goes. But anyway, that's all I have to say. Everybody check out heavyhockey.com, all of that stuff. And, of course, every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Mountain, midnight over here in Atlantic Canada, I go live. And I'm sure we're going to have these guys on for another roundtable start of training camp or thereabouts, or when some big news happens. Let's let's go just a couple of quick words before Dash does the last word tonight. Maybe start Ryan. We'll go Jeff, Josh, Kirk, Dursa, and then finish it off with Dash. Any quick words you got to say? Go ahead, Ryan.
All right. Yeah, I think Ken Holland has had a pretty solid off season so far. It's not been like a sexy off season, so to speak, but he's done exactly what's needed to have been done so far. He got rid of Cassian's contract. He re-signed Kulak and Kane. He addressed the goaltending issue, and he's got Puljujarvi signed. He's got a couple more RFAs to sign. That'll get done, and he's not done yet. Still work to be done, but I'm pleasantly I'm pleased with what he's done so far. And I said at the start of last year that we'd be talking about the Oilers as a contender by this time next year, and here we are talking about them as a contender. I really think they are a contender. It's just what moves are left are going to just change the odds slightly here. So yeah, I think we're in a good spot.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Jeff.
Just to touch on my Sabres a little bit, if I can.
Yeah,
I think they got a good young group, but I think some fans are hoping they'll be contending for a playoff spot, but I think it's still a little soon for that. They got a young group, and it's been 11 straight years without the playoffs, but I feel like I'm just going to focus on the last couple of years since Kevin Adams has taken over, and this will be Kevin Adams' third season, and they've really drafted and developed really well, and they're kind of just taking the patient development route, right? So I think they should maybe be like 9th or 10th in the East and kind of contend, but I don't think they'll be a playoff team. But, I hate to say it, but be a little more patient and trust the process there, and they'll be great in a few more years. And just to touch on the Oilers quickly too, I'm a huge Jay Woodcroft fan, and I think having him from day one opening training camp is going to be a huge difference for this team. It'll be Woodcroft's first time being in a training camp, starting from day one as a head coach. And I think that'll be great for the team, great for him to just kind of be there from square one of the whole entire season. So having Woodcroft from day one of training camp is going to be huge and beneficial for the whole organization. And, I think they'll contend for the Pacific Division, and the Oilers, you guys should have a great year and probably be back in the Western Conference Finals again. So congrats to you guys and best of luck.
Thanks, Jeff. Josh.
In Jay, I trust, and I like that phrasing, trust the process. I'm trusting the process. I'm going to sit back and let the players do the work, let the coach do the work, and I'm just going to enjoy the ride.
All right. Can we get a hallelujah?
Amen.
All right, Kirk.
I can officially remove the cautiously optimistic for this team. I am excited. Holland's pretty much stuck to his guns. He's made a few mistakes along the way, I will admit. I'm pretty sure a lot of people admit the same way, like he's had hiccups, but he's addressed a lot of issues with the team. So, and I'm really stoked about Skinner, and he's finally getting his shot, and I'm really hopeful for this team. Like, it's, as Josh said just now, I'm excited as well. It's an awesome time to be an Oilers fan. That's for sure.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Kirk. Dursa, you're so still right now. I thought for a second your frame had frozen.
No, we're all good.
All right. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a big monumental season for Darnell Nurse to really show that he's a number one defenseman. Mm-hmm. Get healthy over the summer, get stronger as he always does, pushing the gym. But he's going to be our veteran D now. I think Keith came in and hopefully some of the lessons in the playoffs that he taught to Bouchard. Bouchard's ready to take another step forward, and I'm excited to see what Jack Campbell can do as an Edmonton Oiler. I had to push back on Josh saying we fixed the goaltending. We addressed it. Let's see if it is fixed. Let's see if we are taking a step forward in net and ready to push on. the Avalanche are going to be, a team to contend with again. And I think that's where the bar is. So we've got to catch them. I don't think we've done enough yet to kind of be there, but I think just the goaltending change alone. If we look back at some of the games we ended up losing to them, in that series, maybe there is a win there. If Campbell's in net versus Smith, just in the calm demeanor, that Campbell's going to bring. So that part is going to be interesting, but I think some more things need to happen here before, playoffs start again next year for us to really be, pushing not only for the Western Conference final, but beyond. I don't think we're quite there yet. And that's what needs to happen. I mean, the clock is ticking for this team and we need to get something done.
Yeah, good points. Thanks, Dursa. And again, thank you to everybody. Here's the point, my scariest time of the night where I turn my mic on mute. Everybody else has to do the same. And, I'm probably just going to put some earplugs in and let it.
You might want to hear this one.
Yeah.
Don't play coy.
All right, guys. Again, thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in to everybody on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, everywhere. Black Masakari says, big Roundtable, beautiful. I'm only 107 minutes late. Thanks for tuning in anyway. Really do appreciate. We've had a lot of support this year. Lots of big things happening for the new season, and we'll continue to talk about those as we get up to that time. But lots of great stuff. And with that being said, Mr. Dash, you know the rules. Go for it. I'm on mute.
All right. We all know that I'm the last person that Hubert would ever want to really give the last word to and stick himself on mute when we got a panel of yahoos like this. So he's trying to act a little coy there, which I find cute. Pretty cute that you're trying to play dumb when you know exactly what's about to happen here. This is a bit of what we call the Michael Hubert cheat code. Okay. He's sick and tired of not getting the last word in this podcast. So as a way around, he's given me a written statement. So I will read some of this in just a second. I do want to go around the table a little bit as well, because I didn't get the chance. Awesome to get all you guys out. This is, the core of the heavy hockey fam here, and boys, it's pretty fun to do these things with you. I was looking forward to this all day. Jeff, you're doing a fantastic job, man. You're easily the easiest voice to listen to out of these guys. I'm not even kidding. And you're welcome. We can be the Decade of the Darkness support group for you. You're in the right place. Lotsy, you're cool. Thanks for keep pumping out the articles. You're a machine over there. You and Eric are basically the article boys. Kirk, good luck making your duck calls or whatever you do there in fucking Vegreville. Durst, I appreciate you giving me, another opportunity in my week to get to stare at some bear's nostrils in an abstract painting and not be able to see the top of your head. Thank you.
Kevin Weeks coming live.
There it is. So as the statement goes, I, Michael Kenneth James Hebert of Sound, Mind, and Body, have the following quotes that I would like read for my own show's last word. The best network decision I ever made was naming Dash the associate host. The world needs more refs like Brett Luchansky. I'm really insignificant without you guys. Dash drives ratings. I know where the talent lies, and it's with Kirk Morris, not with me. Josh Bolton, that guy picks up YouTube subscribers like I pick up ozone penalties in men's league. And the thing is I'm glad that I have guys like Jeff and Dash and Durst that are always right and can come on and give an opinion, because I am always wrong. I said we wouldn't make the playoffs. We did. I said that Tippett, no way he'd get fired. He did. I unscrupulously said that Americans should not want to sign in Edmonton. Yet here we are with Jack Campbell. It happened. So I'm at the point where I think I've convinced myself, Michael, Kenneth, James, Hebert, that no matter what I say, the opposite will happen. Therefore, the Oilers will not win a Stanley Cup. Good night.